Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy Friday, Northeast Ohio, Cleveland sports fans everywhere, wherever you are. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Today's Friday. That means we do 90 on YouTube, the stream, and then our last 30 will be on WKYC Channel 3 here in Cleveland. If you're outside the market and you want to watch that last 30 minutes, it's simple. Just you download the WKYC Plus app and then click the Watch Now tab at 12:30. You can watch it in China. You can watch it wherever you are. Australia, Germany, England, we got them all over the place.
Everywhere.
Regular fans.
Everywhere.
Panel's a little odd today because G and Bull are sick.
Yes.
Do they have the same illness? Do we know?
Cannot confirm.
Is Bull stuck on the toilet again?
Is Bull eating more imitation crab? Jeez, man.
He might be.
I hope not. I heard from a lot of people that really enjoyed that segment. I didn't because just the mental picture of Bull.
Yeah.
Depositing secondhand imitation crab into his bidet-fueled toilet.
I had to do the research of what imitation crab was.
We
and
did
Mike
too,
was like,
yeah.
do not tell me. Like he's like,
Yeah, it's
shoving
bad.
my laptop off the table back here.
It's real bad. It's just basically like ground up fish of any kind, as long as it's fish, and then it's heated and seared together in the shape of crab legs. This'll fool them. So there you go. Busy show. We've got Browns, Cavs, Guardians. Quick tickle on the Guardians. They've lost their hitting coach. Valleca's going to Tito in Cincinnati. My fear, and it feels like a fait accompli, is that the pitching coach is going to join him as well. Not just the pitching coach. I think the best pitching coach in baseball.
Yeah.
And, we'll talk about that. Does Carl Willis stay? Does he go? I know he's got a great relationship with Tito, so we'll dive into that. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. I'm sure you have some insight. At least I hope you do.
Yeah.
Other than my fears. I live in my fears. And I fear that any day now I'm going to get an alert on my phone that says Guardians pitching coach Carl Willis to join Terry Francona in Cincinnati. That would be big. Okay, let's start with the guy. We have a couple of reads before we dive in. Right? And where's Mikey?
Mikey is at another wedding that he's in this time, so
This
at least
guy.
he has a reason to be gone. I think
He's
in
at that
New Jersey.
age where they're
I know.
all getting married.
I think I've forgotten, but holy cow. He's got like 5 weddings a year.
Yep.
I had a FanDuel. I put an over/under
On-
Mikey
on
on
McNuggets
winter
weddings? How
On
many?
Winter weddings. I got him over 1.5 winter weddings for 2024.
You
So,
also-
We got to track that.
yeah.
If you also want to bet, FanDuel is the place to go. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS. And also joining us today is our friends over at ZBiotic. ZBiotic's pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. So here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut, and it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to take ZBiotic before you first drink at night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best in the morning. Here's how to use it. Step 1, drink pre-alcohol. Step 2, drink responsibly. And step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LockedOnNFL at checkout.
And my second-hand market research on ZBiotics is that it works like a charm.
I got a Halloween party tonight, so I hope it works.
Why don't you try it out? You give
I'm
us a
going to.
report on Monday. I have heard, again, secondhand market research. I didn't do this, but I've heard that it's like someone called it the miracle hangover cure. Now, you got to do it before you drink, though. This person said that they tried it once after they drank, and it didn't work. But You've got to know you're about to go on a bender, I guess, is what I'm saying. And you take it first, and then you indulge. And I'm curious to see if it works for you at your Halloween party. Are you going in costume? Please tell me you're going as Austin Hedges.
No, that would have been a good one. Bree and I are going as Pokemon trainers for this, but I do have for next Thursday.
Pokemon trainers?
Yes,
Okay.
we got some Pokemon. She's done a bunch of work towards this. I have done absolutely nothing.
Oh,
I'm just showing
okay.
up to the party. But next Thursday, I have something fun to wear to the show that I bought from Spirit Halloween. So
Good. Very good.
I used to be the king of Halloween costumes.
Once upon a time,
The
I took it
king.
very seriously as well.
Yeah. What was your best one?
Most interesting man in the world.
How'd you do that?
I had a beard that our makeup team at ESPN put together. It made it. I looked like the dude. I had a tux, and I really worked on the accent.
I can see it.
I got to tell you, man, it was a lot of fun. We got great feedback. Another year, I was the dude from Hangover.
Which one?
Zach Galifianakis
With the baby?
I had the pillow. I had the Merce. I had the baby. I had the exact outfit that he was wearing.
That is
I
awesome.
bought the shirt.
That is awesome.
That was a lot of fun too. That's one of my all-time favorite movies, Hangover. So.
In college, this is awful. In college, I wore red sweatpants with a red sweatshirt. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Come on, you got to finish it now.
I hope my mom's not watching. I taped tampons all over, and I rode around on a tricycle because I was a menstrual cycle.
that's the most.
Oh my God!
And
How many people didn't get it? You had
all
to-
of them. I had to explain it all night long.
But that had to win every competition going.
I took second place at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame one year because I had on all black, and I put on the silver masking tape down the sides, and I pinned Barbie dolls all over me because I was a chick magnet. That's right. And that took second place. And you had people there that had like these really elaborate costumes.
Wow.
And I took second with like dollar Barbies from the knockoff store and sweatpants. And,
The creative mind of Jason Lloyd.
I was ashamed I was a taco for 3 years. Good Lord.
Yeah, right. I mean, the menstrual cycle has everything beat. I can't believe you told that story
I can't
on
either.
air.
I can't
It
either.
lives forever
Let's
now.
just keep that between us.
When I was a kid, so like my mother didn't used to let me and my brother dress up for Halloween all the time. She used to think Halloween was dangerous, going to trick or treat.
Right.
And this particular year, the church that we went to as kids, they had a Halloween party.
So you got to do
So my mother get me and my brother dressed up, but my mother did not understand the excitement. Me and my brother went to a church Halloween party dressed up as vampires.
it. Oh, yeah, that probably didn't go over
everybody
well.
else in the church, all the other little kids is like characters from the Bible, and me and my brother walked in as vampires. I
The
promise
priest
you.
is holding his crucifix at you.
So we looking at each other, we so embarrassed. I kid you not, we were so traumatized. We never kind of like did the whole dress up thing again. Like didn't want to go to church on Sundays no more. You
Oh
talk
my
about-
God.
Man,
There's
'cause
the
people don't
vampires,
know.
Mom. There's the
Like
vampires.
church folks are some of the most judgmental people in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I know.
I can't believe Niecy had these boys coming in here looking like some damn vampires. It was crazy.
What, the devil costume wasn't available?
It was wild, man. It was
Oh,
wild.
my goodness.
That's great.
All right, so happy Halloween, everybody! And I'm actually really
Yeah.
glad that Earl's on.
Are
the
we
show
dressing?
today.
Are we doing anything for a Halloween show?
I hope so because
'Cause
I'm
I'm gonna
going
be
to spend
gone.
like $45 on something to wear for next.
Well,
Thursday.
you absolutely should
So
be
I'm
Austin
definitely
Hedges.
coming in
I mean,
dressed up as something.
couple of eye black. You got
but
the
how many
hedgy
times can I use
jersey.
that- How many times can I use that jersey?
You were taco 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
you got 2 more years of
That was
hedges.
also in high school when I didn't have any money at all. Now I have a little bit, so I bought something for next Thursday.
Look, Anthony's a taco again.
Hey, you heard him? He said, now I got a little bit.
Anthony, what are you going to be next year?
a taco.
I'm thinking taco.
Taco.
The best part of that costume, it didn't leave the trunk of my car for those 3 years.
Oh,
I
that
just threw
smelled
it
good.
on.
That smelled good. You know what I want? I think you should go what you went at Kent State as
As a menstrual
the
cycle.
menstrual cycle. I just want the whole show you're going to be doing laps
Do
on
a tricycle.
Dude, how
Around the
tired
damn
of you?
table.
How tired of you were you of that tricycle by the end of the night?
Eventually, I just started carrying it around. I just got
really
sick of
good,
riding it.
though.
Just carried it.
Really good. All right, let's dive in. And we start with the Cleveland Browns. They're going to look different this week. We know that. They're going to look different on 2 fronts. One, because they're going to have a different quarterback. Also, they're going to have a different play caller. I think Sean King brought up a very interesting point. I know you and I talked about it off air.
Yeah.
Sean King was pretty adamant in his weekly appearance on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show that we all pump the brakes on this idea that Jameis Winston is a bridge to nowhere or is going to be a Band-Aid quarterback until they get their guy in here. And I hadn't really thought about it as much as Sean had, but I have since. And I personally think it makes perfect sense. It happened last year. No one thought Joe Flacco was going to come in here and do what he did. Mm-hmm. And he had great success and led them to the playoffs. Now, he's 40. Jameis is only 30 years old, so why the hell not?
It makes sense what he's saying. I'm not disputing what he's saying. He's totally right. I just have, I think, a little bit of insight of where the Browns are thinking with this, and I don't think they're looking at it.
Okay, so this is what I'll say to your insight on what the Browns are thinking.
They
thought Kareem Hunt was on 3 wheels.
He is!
And they told you that over and over and over again.
He is!
And I love that their offensive coordinator was asked in a news conference, some reporters are saying Kareem Hunt is on 3 wheels. What say you? And they even used your analogy. It was Darren. Is it Darren,
Yeah,
right?
it was Darren. Shout out to Darren.
Our big fan of the show, Darren, who covers the Chiefs, he even phrased the question. He might as well said, Jason Lloyd of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show has been quoted as, if you need 3 yards, he'll get you
3.
If you need 4 yards, he'll get you 3. He read your quote and used the 3-wheel analogy.
If you need 2, he'll get you 3. If you need 4, he'll get you 3.
And what did the OC say? Look, if we need 3, he'll get us 4. If we need 4, he'll get us 5. We think he's very much the player he was when he left here.
All right.
We love him.
I disagree.
So that was the thinking inside the Browns.
Well, no, nobody with the Browns ever said he was on 3 wheels.
No, but they thought he was done.
They thought he was. Yeah, they thought he was done. And he's not the guy he was. He's not.
Well,
He's
let's
not.
wait and see. Let's just wait and see.
That's all. But anyway, and yeah, like the Browns have not exactly nailed all of their assessments. But you talk about
being kind.
But you talk about Flacco. Did they bring Flacco back? No.
Again, they missed on that too. I was screaming from the mountaintops. Why wouldn't this guy be coming back?
So I don't think Jameis is going to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns next year. I mean, if he plays lights out and balls of fury, okay, maybe we'll see. But right now, I don't think they're looking at him as a, hey, let's see, maybe this is the guy. Not as we sit here today. October 25th at 11:12 a.m. They are not looking.
I don't think they should be either, Jay. What I'm saying is, and I think this is what Sean was saying, open your minds.
Yeah.
You guys in Cleveland are so close-minded on things. You're thinking that you're back at block 0 when maybe you're not.
If he did work out, it would be a gift from the heavens.
Aren't we due one of those?
Because it would solve a lot of problems. Because, he could play in the league for 7-8 years. Easy.
With the way the rules are.
Easy.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm watching Matthew Stafford last night, and I'm not comparing him to Matthew Stafford, but I'm watching Matthew Stafford. This guy's from the class of 2009.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston is considerably younger than that.
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
Yeah.
And also I think we need to take this into account. Sean knows Jameis well, and he said, look, I think the Tampa situation was extremely humbling for him. Not only was he told, you're not the guy, they moved on to a guy, now granted he was the GOAT, but they moved on to a guy who in the very next year won a Super Bowl with essentially the same team.
Right.
That can be humbling.
Sure.
He looked himself in the mirror and said, wow, I guess I was the problem. And I do think Jameis is introspective. I think he always has been.
Yeah.
I think in his later years now, as he's more mature, he's able to take the next step, not just being introspective, he's able to do something about it.
Yeah.
And Sean thinks he has, and I'm not purporting, look, he may go out there and flop.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm very curious to see what we have.
I do think the Browns need to be creative. To your point, you keep thinking so small-minded. You keep thinking so boxed in. Jameis is only 30. He'll be 31, I think, January 6th, right?
Right.
And if you look at the Tampa situation, that can be humbling. You're the number 1 overall pick, and you get kicked out the door. Tom Brady comes in, and he wins the Super Bowl with essentially the same team that you just won the Super Bowl with. So for Jameis,
And he's 15 years older than you are.
Yeah, your ego is taking a shot. You know what I'm saying? You're questioning if, can I do this long term? And then you get an opportunity to redeem yourself. I thought he played well when he was in New Orleans, but I think the term that Sean used was don't put a cap on his ceiling.
Yeah.
I think we all know every player has a cap on their ceiling. Jameis said yesterday that when he's at his very best, he's a pretty good starting quarterback. And I agree with that. I think Jameis would be a good short-term option for the Cleveland Browns.
And by short term, do you mean this year? Do you mean a few years? So they draft a guy and he's a bridge until he's ready?
I think if you draft a guy, I would love to see the Browns go Packer-esque type with this situation.
Draft and sit.
Draft a guy, maybe let him sit for a year, maybe 2 years, and that's only if Jameis Winston proves to be worthy. If you look at Jameis and you look at Joe Flacco, there's a lot of similarities to their game. And we all wanted Flacco to come back. I know I was somebody who wanted Flacco to come back.
Right.
You right? Jameis is a dude who's going to throw the ball downfield. He's going to take some big shots. But he's also a dude who's going to make some bonehead turnovers and make some questionable decisions. So the question then becomes, do the Cleveland Browns have enough around Jameis to overcome that? And that's TBD. We thought we did. Now
Last
we're
year
not
they
so
did
sure.
with the defense.
Right
and
now,
Flacco did throw some
we're not
picks.
so sure. So there's a possibility that he can be or a short-term answer. Jason, you got the insight. If I'm the Browns, I wouldn't be too quick to march him out the door. I think the maturity, I think the leadership, I think all of that has to play a part.
Yeah.
Because if you draft somebody, you don't want to throw him into the fire and then his career's over with before
we've
he
done
even
that.
starts. We've done that before.
Yeah. I think this, and this is what makes me most happy. I like Jameis. I want to see Jameis succeed. I'd love it if it was here. He's going to get a chance. Like, when you roll the dice like he did, you could sit for 17 games behind a healthy quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he made an educated guess, I think, and realized this dude's played 7 games the last 3 years. I know one was because of the suspension, but he can't stay healthy. Deshaun Watson isn't that guy anymore. So I think that this is the opportunity that he had hoped for, and I'm glad he's going to get it. We're going to find out over the course of the next 10 games. We're going to find out.
Are we?
Well,
I don't think he's getting 10.
Because I'm with Jason. I think a part of me feels like that if Dorian Thompson-Robinson didn't hurt his finger,
Oh, he'd be the
that
starter.
he'd be the
no,
starting
I agree
quarterback
that
this
the
year.
Browns would have done that,
So,
and I couldn't have argued against that move. But you're
just
going to tell
wonder.
me that if he balls
If
out
he
against
balls out,
Baltimore on
right,
Sunday, that it's a
right.
wrap? No way.
No,
way.
I agree with that. But, if there's a game throughout this process that he doesn't look well, that'll be the excuse to put DTR.
Sure.
DTR
Yeah,
back.
they'll go to it immediately
So.
because they're in tank mode.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
don't disagree with that?
tank mode is hard because guys are coaching for their jobs. So if they go to Kevin and give him assurance, you're back next year no matter what. Number one, you have to take him at his word. You have to believe that. Number two, then you can maybe pivot to playing some of the and we'll see at the trade deadline who's here and who's not.
Right.
I mean, they could easily move on from Za'Darius. They could
Yeah.
easily move on from Dalvin Tomlin. Like, these guys aren't making. They've converted the money into signing bonuses. They're not carrying big cap numbers. They'll be appealing to other teams.
Right.
That's going to tell you if they're in tank mode or not.
Well, let's say this then. Let's say that he's not the guy, and he proves that over the next 10 games or whatever he gets. He gets 3. It's miserable. They put DTR out there, and you're just spinning your wheels again. Who's the guy? Where do they go to find their franchise quarterback? Every well they've drilled in has been empty.
Yeah.
Where do they go next?
I think it depends on who's making that call. I think you call Carolina and look at Bryce Young. You could look at the draft.
Oh, God.
But that's where you're looking.
Please tell me there's no whisper over there of looking at Bryce Young.
I'm just throwing a name out of guys who
Okay.
that's not intel.
He's
at all.
5'10". It's been awful so far.
And they've just went through that with Baker. But
Baker at least was 6 foot.
yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, smaller type quarterbacks. There are guys. I mean, again, Trey Lance is a guy who's out there. Dak just signed long term. Do the Cowboys really
So
want to hold on to
that's.
him?
Do you think that's?
I'm just throwing out names of guys who would be reclamation projects if that's the route you want to go. You can go that route. You can go the draft route, start scouting quarterbacks again. I don't know who a veteran stopgap would be. Jacoby Brissett. You can go back that route for a 1-year guy until. But that's I think the world that we're in right now.
Spurgeon Wynn still playing?
I know.
I mean, that's.
Is there something I'm missing though? Like,
No.
I'm trying to think of reclamation projects who were bust in their first spots.
And I think what Sam Darnold is doing, and to a certain extent even Baker, these are guys who some in the sport said, done, fork them, they're finished. I watched Darnold last night, and and Herbie brought it up at one point in the broadcast, and I laughed because I said, yeah, I can't imagine what Jets fans are thinking because it's what Browns fans are thinking. He said, what must Jets fans be thinking as they watch Sam Darnold put himself into the MVP conversation? Now, I don't think he's going to win the MVP. I don't even think he's in the conversation. But he has clearly reclaimed his career.
Yeah, and how many stops has it been? How many years has it been?
He's the only NFL quarterback to make four starts to start with 4 different teams under 28. And when they showed that, I thought, wait a minute, Baker did that.
Yeah.
And see, I don't fault the Jets in a situation. How long are you supposed to hold on with a guy? How long are you supposed to hang? Because for every Sam Darnold, there's 30 Josh Rosens.
I agree with that, and this goes to my point of the good seed in a toxic soil. Baker couldn't flourish here. He did for a minute, but ultimately the decision was, nope, that's not what it's going to look like. So he's gone. Mm-hmm. I don't blame the Jets because I watched everything they watched. It was pitiful. And they mentioned last night, why is it working? Because he's got the coach in Minnesota to make it work.
Yeah.
Why did Baker suddenly pivot when he went to the Rams? Because McVay is the whisperer. He's the guy.
Who did Geno Smith used to play for?
Exactly.
The Jets.
Toxic soil.
Toxic
soil. What's interesting about that is, now he's older, but they took a guy who once upon a time was the guy, and they put him in their toxic soil, and now Aaron Rodgers looks ordinary.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, the Browns and the Jets are sister and brother organizations, whatever you want to call them. They're very, very similar. They've had many different names. They've drafted many different prospects that were highly touted and were thought of by other teams to be the answer.
Yeah.
And they just failed miserably. It's almost like whoever you put here is going to wilt and die in that dirt.
Can I interest you in a Kenny Pickett?
No, cannot.
I'm just
Can you imagine Bull? Bull hated Kenny Pickett from the second he got off the pit bus.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't want to go the draft route, if you don't want to spend your first-round pick on a quarterback because you don't love this class, that's the bin you're shopping in.
You want to know how to piss Browns fans off? You bring in Trey Lance and Kenny Pickett next year on a 1-year contract and say, hey, battle it out.
Fight for my love.
What's interesting, that's exactly what Pittsburgh did, and it worked out well.
Wouldn't work out for us.
No, it failed miserably. They would
us.
both be awful. In Pittsburgh, I think everybody agrees that Russell Wilson is probably the better choice for where this team is right now.
Well, maybe Justin Fields will be here next year.
But, well, who knows? That would be a Browns-type move to make. Let's bring a Buckeye back and see if we can make something out of him.
Hindsight is 20/20, but knowing what Pittsburgh gave up for Justin Fields, I wish Andrew Berry would have made that phone call and shopped around and seen.
Deshaun wouldn't like that.
At the time,
I don't want him in my building.
But see that and see, not to cut you off, Jason, but that's what I sat here on the panel with you two guys last year when we had this Flacco conversation, and I said, you know, as somebody who still thought Deshaun had it, I thought Flacco should have came back. I thought Flacco was good for the Browns organization. I thought he was good for Deshaun, and I thought he was good for DTR.
Well,
and I also felt like that if 1 out of 53 players in that locker room couldn't handle Flacco being here, and you make the decision not to bring him back because of that one dude, then that's the joke on you.
It would have divided the locker room.
Yeah, but
look at how this year played out. This is the exact reason why you couldn't bring him back.
And that's why
I got to tell you, Jason, I know that you firmly said you've had that position forever. When you first said that, I said that is a loser's mentality. I will say that again. That is a loser's mentality. You're talking about a backup to the position that more than any other job maybe in the world, the attrition rate at that job it's unbelievable. It seems like no one makes it through a season healthy. This guy, his proof was in the pudding. He couldn't make it through last year healthy. He didn't make it through the first half of this season healthy. The notion that you would trade a capable and popular backup quarterback because his presence might have split the locker room or made the starting quarterback uncomfortable. These guys are grown-ass men. Deal with it. Yeah. He's in the locker room. He's a backup. He's part of this team. Embrace him because he might help you win again.
Mike said that they're dealing with the same thing right now in Indy, that Richardson is getting healthy. He's about to, presume as a starting quarterback, and the fan base and some players like, hold up, well, Flacco was balling.
He was.
But can't make Rich uncomfortable. He's a top 5 pick.
Loser's mentality.
You got in it. And again, that's why I'm a fan.
Let me know how their season works out on that plan.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if that's making Richardson uncomfortable so much as, hey, we drafted this guy, we've invested in this guy, this guy's our future, and our future is now, we got to play him. It's a different situation. Flacco, the reason it was so uncomfortable here was because the entire city loved him.
Why?
And they didn't like Deshaun.
Why did they love him?
All.
Why did they love him?
Because he played well.
Okay. Why did they not like Deshaun?
Because he didn't play well.
Okay. And what decision did the organization make? Let's stick with the guy that didn't play well. We'll get rid of the guy that played well.
Because
that's the Browns.
Because you have $230 million invested.
So what?
So they worried
That's
about
the owner's problem.
They worried
That's
about
not the fans'
optics.
problem.
They worried about how it looks to the
And
masses versus
Yeah, and now you're 1-6
versus trying to really win.
And now you're 1-6.
But it wasn't just Joe. It was they threw out the entire offense.
I know they did.
Because it embarrassed four. It
That's
embarrassed him.
And that is why I'm saying that's a loser's mentality.
I don't know that I necessarily disagree with that, but the reality of it is with money they had invested in him, with the draft capital, the trade capital they had invested in him, they were going to do everything they could to make that work.
I got a question for
and
both
it
of
failed
you all.
miserably.
I ain't been out here in a while, so I got a question for both of you all, right? I find it hard to believe that Kevin woke up when did we play, Saturday?
Yeah, I'm with you.
That Kevin woke up Sunday morning, stretched, got out of bed, looked at his wife and said, you know what? I done scored over 25 points a game with Deshaun, Jacoby Brissett, Baker Mayfield, so on and so forth. I think I'm finna go ahead and just change up my whole offense because this not working. I think I'm finna just fire everybody. This not working. Even though I had success with all these people, to me it never made sense. Deshaun Watson looked much better last year running the version of Kevin Stefanski's offense than he ever had at any point during this year with this combo version of offense. I never thought it made rational sense to wake up a day after the playoff game and say, you know what, everybody got to go. And my career points per game average over 4 years as head coach is over 26 points a game.
Yeah, I want to, along that premise, the most asked question I received via email upstairs at Channel 3 when the move happened earlier this week was, it wasn't even a question, it was, make this make sense. And I replied to the first one. I replied to the second one, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to craft this email properly, and then I'm going to cut and paste because they were flooding in. Why? What are they doing? And here's what I came up with. And I'll save the thesis statement was my last line in the email. But what I said was essentially what you did. Kevin Stefanski has a track record of calling plays. Mm-hmm. He's won with multiple different quarterbacks, multiple different styles of play, primarily using his system, calling his plays. Last year, most experts agreed he did his best coaching job ever. Again, named the NFL Coach of the Year for the second time in 4 years.
Right.
And I basically explained he did that by using 5 different starting quarterbacks, including a 40-year-old who was on the junk heap, came off his couch, rallied the team, made the playoffs. We were trending up. The organization, when it came time to make decisions on the future, decided that the offensive coordinator of that team must go. The wide receivers coach of that team must go. The running backs team of that coach must go. They basically cleaned house on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive coordinator that was fired didn't even call plays. He must go. The quarterback, the general on the field that led this incredible comeback, he must go. What we're going to do is we're going to hire an offensive coordinator that loves the spread and the RPO offense. We're going to bring him in because he aligns with our knight in shining armor, who hasn't been a knight in shining armor yet, but he's going to be, and we paid him a lot. So we're going to team those two guys up. And then they said, but he's not going to call the plays. The old guy with the under center is going to call the plays for the quarterback that likes RPO and spread. And then after 7 games and RPO quarterback and spread quarterback gets hurt, they're going to say to the offensive coordinator, you're not going to call the plays. We're going to bring in the RPO spread offensive coordinator to call the plays for the guy who loves to be under center and use play fake. Make sense? No. And my last line was, stop trying to make the Browns' decisions make sense. They never have. They never will. Out. Done. Am I wrong with any of that?
Nope.
I wrote this week, like, of all the weeks, everything we talked about today came out. It does not make sense. The only shred of logic behind this is Kevin is so fed up with the alignment issues. They can't get lined up, the pre-snap motion penalties, all of the nonsense going on where he said, I have to get a handle on this. I need to put all my focus on here. That is the only thing, and I don't even know that I buy it. I'm just saying, if you look at all of the penalties that they've had across the offensive line, if his thought is we need to get this cleaned up, that's the only thing.
Do you think maybe the kickoff return on play 1 had something to do with that too? So in other words, I need to be global.
Yeah.
I need to be in these special teams meetings.
Right.
Special teams cost them that football game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an 11-point swing in special teams.
Yeah.
They missed an extra point, they missed a field goal, and they gave up 7 on a touchdown on a play that you want to abolish.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the 3rd time this year anybody's taken it to the house.
Yeah.
It should never happen today. It goes for a touchdown. They lose by 7. They give 11 points away. It's mind-numbing, and I thought that too. I thought, well, maybe he was looking at this saying, I've lost control of everything, not just the offense. I've lost control of everything.
Yeah.
Let me put out fires in special teams. Let me go pay more attention to the defense, and let's give it a try. I'll never believe that decision was fully his, but maybe that was part of the convincing process where they said, Kevin, you're going to lose your job here because you're also failing in other areas.
Yeah.
Let's let the offensive guy fix the offense. You fix everything.
I said it before. I'll say it again. To me, this feels a lot like those last 2 years with Hugh Jackson. It feels a lot like that last year in particular when Haley came in, whatever was going on throughout that early portion of the season, Haley calling plays, Hugh not really liking the whole situation here, and it just got really, really ugly.
And they fired everybody at the same time.
After Hugh got a contract extension that we never.
A 1-year extension.
You think that's coming again, don't you?
It's my fear.
You hinted to that last.
It's my fear. Yeah. As soon as I, that was my first thought when I heard he was giving up play calling was they really are going to fire him. Now let's wait and see how the rest of this plays out. You know, there's a lot of football left, guys. There's a lot of games left. We aren't even at the halfway point yet.
No.
But I mean, to make a playoff run, the worst you can do is go 8-2. The absolute worst.
Yeah.
You're not making the playoffs if you're 9-8.
I go back
now.
to that year with Mangini when the Browns closed off the season when they're like 4 straight. We knew we wasn't going to make no type of playoff run, but it made the fan base feel better about the team and the organization.
For a year.
For me, you know, I tweeted out last night, this team need to win bad, you know, and even if the playoffs is out of the question, especially after last week, like, you got to do something to make this fan base feel better. Like,
and it's tough because it's coming against and I know they're on short rest, but it's coming against a Ravens team that, by my eyes, I think this is a Super Bowl team.
5.
This is a Super Bowl
Lamar
team.
was killing it last
Lamar
week.
looks like a college quarterback.
He looked better than last year.
2 picks.
Yeah.
He's better than he was last year.
Yeah.
His decision-making has been – that was what I always thought was going to run him out of the league early if it happened. His decision-making has been absolutely impeccable. They have retrained him to be this robotic quarterback that can do just about anything with his physical gifts. And is there a scenario, Jay, that you see where Kevin doesn't make it through the year?
No. Well, I mean, anything's possible, but I would imagine that they would at least give him the year. They owe him that.
What was his extension for? 3 more?
They've been really good at keeping that under seal. I don't know that hasn't gotten out to my knowledge.
Wow,
I don't know how long the extension is.
Because that makes a difference in their thinking.
Well, yeah, but
if they owe him for 4.
A lot of times the extension leaks when it is coming up again. Like, they'll keep it under wraps.
Yeah, I see.
And then the agent leaks when you're 2 years out.
I got it.
And then that's
so
when,
you think I would guess there's at least 3.
It has to at least be 3.
So
he
we
had
know,
1 left plus at least 3.
Someone asked me this question, and I chuckled because my answer to that was no. But the question was, does Jimmy have a financial breaking point? At one point, he was paying 6 different head coaches. 6. Yeah. Okay, that's telling you you're bad at making decisions. Bad's too nice. You suck at making decisions. And when you hit people where it hurts, their eyes get open. The question was, does he have a financial tipping point where, oh, God, another bad decision, now I'm paying $230 million to a guy that's a bucket of bolts? Does he get there? I hope he does.
They're not anywhere near it.
Nowhere near it.
No.
So the 230 is just like...
I think it's money way too long to give it down.
God,
he's getting ready to write a check for 1.2 billion.
Well, that he knows that the return on investment is going to be there. Although there is one fly in the ointment. If you colossally suck when you move to this new dome, this is what no one has figured in yet. I've done some research and I've looked into what teams charge when they build these new mega complexes. The Chargers have the most expensive average ticket price in the NFL. If you suck, this fan base, which is loyal to a fault, this fan base will stop if the price gets, because we have a breaking point.
Oh, for sure.
And if he F's around and finds out what that is, he might be sitting on a $1.2 billion dinosaur.
Now is not the time to be trying to sell PSLs in a new stadium.
This is not the time to be pissing off Browns fans more than they already pissed off.
Well, wait until the ticket. Now, I know it's 5 years away, and that is 2 lifetimes in the NFL.
But to your point, look at New Yankee Stadium. They can't. They have a hard time filling it up.
I know.
And that easily could happen here. So that, and I said that once we started talking about new dome, I said I'm all in favor of it, but the one thing is the lifelong fans are going to get a real dose of sticker shock when they see what it's going to cost them to get into this place. And that's just for the tickets. That's not even the PSL and all the bull crap you got to pay up front just to get in line to get the ticket.
Yeah, I think a story that we're going to be talking a lot about in 5 years, if and when this dome becomes reality, because, by the way, I heard from a pretty powerful player in town that's very plugged in and has and is knows where the money is and how it moves. He's adamant. They ain't moving.
They're not moving?
That's what he said. And I said, explain that to me. And he said, and I brought up the point that he can have a bake sale and make $500 million. He can now sell 10% of the Browns. He said, I know Jimmy. His ego's too big. He's not taking on a partner, number one. Number two, this fight, and by the way, he filed lawsuit yesterday against the city of Cleveland. How you feel about that? This fight is happening because Jimmy doesn't want to pay the $1.2 billion. Jimmy wants government money, public money. My source tells me, and this is through he's been an observer of Cleveland politics and the money scene here for 30 years. He knows how things move. He just said, I don't see it, and I see multiple hurdles in the way. First and foremost is the fight with the city. He's going to get no city money, no county money, zero. He thinks he's going to get money from the state. He's not going to get as much as he thinks because you've also got Cincinnati with their handout. His premise is Jimmy wants this, but he doesn't want to pay for it. And we've always said Jimmy gets what he wants. Well, what he wants is a handout. He wants at least half of this to be paid for by someone else.
He ain't getting that.
I don't see where that comes from now. And the other thing that I think is what we're touching on here, he said he is from Tennessee. His advisors are not from Ohio. They don't understand the Cleveland fan. As long as they've been here and been doing business, they don't understand us. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, if he thinks that this blindly loyal fan base that followed him off a cliff to 0-16 and came back the next year, if he thinks that we're going to do that at a higher price tag, he doesn't understand the market. The money isn't here. And you brought up New York, and I'm glad you did, because when they built Yankee Stadium, there were some sports experts that had said, I think there was even an article in Forbes about this, or one of the sites that cover these things. They are overestimating the number of people that have the money that they think they have. In other words, Wall Street money, we can charge whatever we want. Watch any Yankee game.
Empty.
Now, the playoff games are sold out, of course.
The seats around home plate, empty.
Empty. And it is a big problem for this franchise. A huge problem. Because when they did their long-range financial planning, they baked that into the bread. That money was always going to be there. It's New York. Wall Street people will buy these tickets up. They didn't. And they haven't. Now, they haven't won a World Series in a long time. If they win this year, let's see what happens next year. But the Cleveland money is not like that. What do we do when there are big games? We sell our tickets so we can finance next year's season ticket bill.
I want to respond to what Jay said, but Ant, you got to read?
Yeah, let me get this read in real quick, guys, and then we'll keep going. It's been tough for the Cleveland fans, as we have hit on, but there's only one Cleveland, and there's only one gutter guard for the toughest fans in the world, and that's Leaf Filter. Every installation is a permanent solution to the clogged gutters. It comes with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Leaf Filter uses award-winning patented technology to keep out everything but water. No holes, gaps, or large openings for debris. And over 1 million homeowners have used and trusted Leaf Filter for their gutters. Schedule your free inspection now and for a limited time, get 32% off your entire qualified purchase and 2 free Browns jerseys at leaffilter.com/UCSS. That's a free inspection, up to 32% off, and 2 free Browns jerseys with a qualifying purchase at leaffilter.com/UCSS. Offer valid as first come, first served basis while supplies last. Full terms and conditions can be found at leaffilter.com/UCSS. See representatives for warranty details.
So when you're talking about the stadium and the financing and all that, the county's already told them once, you stay where you're at. And I'm curious to see the Browns. I feel like are confident that there's still money to be had there. They're very confident in the state.
And I think from the guy that I'm talking to, they're banking on something that won't be there.
The Guardians,
to the extent that they think it's going to be there.
I just looked it up. The Guardians didn't get a lot from the state, but they did get state money.
They did, and they did not get a big number. It wasn't what they wanted.
And I believe, from my understanding of it, the Browns feel like they're in front of the Bengals in the line, in the handout line, because they are putting in far more private money than the Bengals are. Like, is the Brown family going to write a check for $1 billion? Absolutely not. So they feel like, I think the Browns feel like they're in a good standing in terms of the state money. DeWine's on board. Houston's on board. The lieutenant governor, who's probably more than likely going to win the election. The governor's race, I think, could play a role in this 2 years out from now.
Yep.
And as of now, like, who has the most money typically is who wins the election. And Houston is far outpacing. Last I looked, and I haven't looked in a few months.
He still is.
Houston was far outpacing Yost in terms of fundraising. So that early, I mean, we got a long ways to the governor's race, but an early indication it's probably going to be Houston. And if that's the case, I think the Browns feel pretty good about where this is headed. But I don't know that they're going to, they're not getting $500 million from the state, certainly.
And that's what they're asking for. That's what they want, half of this to be covered by miracle money.
Public money.
Elves.
Right.
My guy told me that, yes, you're right, the governor race is going to have something to do with it. But also, you have to understand that there are 2 major players in this state when it comes to Ohio politics. Obviously, Columbus is also a third, but Cincinnati and Cleveland. You can't do for Cleveland what you don't do for Cincinnati and vice versa. You can't, because even though there are more votes in Cleveland, the Cincinnati metro area is a large metro area and provides a lot of votes. It's ultimately going to end up on what the public opinion polls show. And the reason I bring that up is because I believe that the ship has sailed on billionaires getting handouts from taxpayers. We've seen it on one ballot referendum after another. In markets, by the way, where sports is king.
Which is why they're not even taking it to the ballot.
They know better.
Yeah.
However, if you're going to now tie a politician to that, you're in trouble, because that could be political suicide if all the public opinion polls show what they have nationally. We are done paying for billionaires' hobbies. We're done with that. And by the way, I think that is, and I don't want to get too political, but I think it's about damn time we're done with it.
I agree with that.
All of the needs that our city has, and you're going to ask the city to write this massive check that provides jobs for people on maybe 10 days a year.
Yeah.
It's misspent money, and we've figured that out. And Jimmy's going to figure that out the hard way, because even if he doesn't put a referendum on the ballot, which he won't, he's going to try to backdoor it and get it done through politicians.
Yeah.
Well, those politicians are beholden to us. And if we're 75% against giving public money to stadiums, I don't think you're going to find any politician, whoever wins that governor's race, willing to commit political suicide and hand out hundreds of millions of dollars to rich people.
The hammer that Jimmy does not have, and I mentioned this a week or two on the show, I don't think you were here, in all of these battles where these owners are trying to get these new stadiums. The hammer that they hold is, give me what I want or I'm leaving. Give me what we want or we'll leave when the lease is up. There's other cities who will give us everything
That's
that
a
we
fact.
want. They can't do that here
Right.
because of the Modell law that they're about to fight in court, whether they can even get to Brook Park. So because of that, the county can puff out its chest and say, stay where you are. We're
Yep.
not giving you a dime.
Go back to your room.
Because they don't have leverage. The Browns don't have leverage on this, especially because of the condition of the franchise right now.
And Jason, not to be mentioned here, but I'll bring it up. The NFL isn't going to let that happen to Cleveland again.
Correct.
So-
and there's the Modell law will keep them in Cleveland.
It's ironclad.
They have no hammer on that.
Now,
in
what
terms
they
of
sued
taking out of
about
the region.
yesterday was clarity on the Modell law.
Well, this is going to get interesting. Like I about 6 months ago, I was poking around with people who are well versed in this stuff, who read the Modell law and said it's pretty clear that it says the city of Cleveland. Now, I think the Browns are going to argue intent or sort like, listen, we're going 10 miles over the border, or maybe they come up with a deal where they literally they reroute city lines and make Brook Park part of Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like you write a check big enough and stranger things have happened. So ultimately, I do think Jimmy's going to get what Jimmy wants because Jimmy always gets what Jimmy wants. But I'm curious to see the path that they take to get there and how much of it's going to come out of his pocket because I think it's going to be substantially more than half.
I think you're right. To this point, Jimmy's always gotten what he wants. But I think this time is going to be different. I think he's up against a different kind of foe. He's up against multiple foes who are teaming up against him, who are clearly now on the other side of his divided line.
But if he wants to pay for it himself,
He could.
If he went to the county and said, "All right, you got me. I'll pay 3/4 of it, 80%, 90% of it myself," they should let him go. It's better for the area.
I agree with that.
Let him go.
And by the way, that statement, "it's better for the area," I've heard from a lot of folks on both sides of this aisle. I was at NOACA a couple of weeks ago, which is the biggest business cooperative in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to me how you could tell within 30 seconds of a conversation with someone which side of this fight they're on. Mm-hmm. The people that have Cleveland's interest are 100% entrenched. This is going to decimate the area.
I don't believe that.
I don't either. Now, I talked to a number of people that are on the other side of that fence. In fact, Brad Sellers was at this event, and Brad spoke as well. And he was part of the panel that I was moderating the debate. I was kind of shocked how much Brad was out in the open about how, I don't want to hear about how this is going to decimate Cleveland. This is going to be a massive financial shot in the arm for Northeast Ohio.
Absolutely.
Are we looking at this as it's good for you and only you, so it can't be good for us,
Right.
or it's good for all of us?
good for the region.
And that was Brad's point. Brad was very eloquent, too, and he brought up a case. He said, look, when I played in Seattle, I watched the city fight over whether or not they were going to give the Supersonics what they wanted. And ultimately, they decided, no, we're going to stand tall on our decision, and we're not going to give them what they wanted. And they left, and they've been crying about it ever since. They
That's
did
the
all
hammer.
all the economic studies that they had done, didn't even come close to what the actual economic impact on the loss of the region was. The Cleveland City Commission and the mayor said that they will lose $30 million a year. Might end up being more than that. However, we talked about this. The area is going to get a Super Bowl. And that means Cleveland's hotels will be filled like they are for the 2016 convention, even more so than they were for, the World Series or the NBA championships or whatever. Nothing brings people to town like a Super Bowl.
We did Behind the Glass this week, and I spoke to this a little bit. First of all, Mayor Bibb, I seen the clip, shout out to WKYC, when he talked about, how people had already started financially invested into the city, how this would be devastating. He talked about the minorities who already can't afford to go to games. They damn sure won't be able to go to games then. As somebody that's 36 that's been born and raised here, and I've primarily worked downtown Cleveland my entire life. Since I've been 20, I've been working downtown Cleveland. actually right here on Lakeside, just on the other side of Lakeside.
Right.
And so I remember working at the Justice Center, and there was talks then about moving the Justice Center near where the post office is because you didn't want to have that eyesore of a jail right next to a five-star hotel that you had just built up. And the goal was to start building up this lakefront and renovating the downtown area. And I've talked to so many people who are much older than me who have said, Earl, they've been making this same statement all my life. They've been making it all your life. I spoke to the fact that Cleveland has an opportunity to be a visionary. If you got an action plan and you really got a way to go about this, if the Browns decided to move to Brook Park and Jimmy ultimately got what he want, you have an opportunity to do something with that prime piece of real estate. You know, you can do more arts museums, you can do casinos, you can do hotels. How about this? We already got a women's soccer team coming, right? You can do an MLS soccer team right there where the Browns play. If you want to bring an NHL team here, they got somewhere they can go play at. There is so much that you can do with that land. If the plan is still to close Burke in a couple years and 10 years from now, you can still add on after you do this.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this situation from a standpoint of ultimately I think Jimmy is going to get what Jimmy wants. And for the city of Cleveland, do you really want to spend that money, you know, in court fighting this lawsuit when you got a city that got some poverty issues, got some homeless people issues? You know, you got some issues here. Granted, Cleveland is a city on the rise. Murder rate is down. You know, things are looking up. But if the Browns truly, truly wants to move, you have an opportunity to take that money that you set aside that you were going to give the Browns and do some dope-ass stuff downtown Cleveland.
And get it done.
Done. You got an opportunity to improve some of the issues that we have. So all to me is not lost, right? If the Browns do move from downtown Cleveland, like in the short term, I do think it'll have a financial impact on the city. But in the long term, if you actually map this out right, you have an opportunity to do some great things in this city that had never been done before. Final point on this, you know, I think you have traditionalist Browns fans who are uncomfortable with change, who are used to this team playing on the lakefront, has always been on the lakefront, and they don't want to see that, you know, change. Then you have other people who really do care about the financial impact that it will have on the city of Cleveland. But this is where it's a hair scratcher for me. You know, a lot of people, you know, they get their money and rightfully so, if this is what they want, they move to the suburbs, the surrounding suburbs of Cleveland, and that's where their tax dollars go. And so to me, it's like if you was that vested in the city and making sure the city don't like be decimated, then you could have lived in the city if you wanted to. And so a lot of times to me, these people who are fussing about keeping the Browns in Cleveland are not even residents of the city of Cleveland.
Right, yeah. Those are the ones that are going to be impacted the most.
Exactly.
Residents of the city, because their budget's going to have a $30 million hole in it. So, and for a city like us, that's massive. Okay, do you want to do a read before we go to AB?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season off with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Plus, you'll get started with a $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment count with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, we were talking about Jimmy Haslam and the quarterback of the future, where they go. Is it Jameis? If not, it's not a great year for free agent quarterbacks. We don't know yet exactly what the draft class is going to look like. Right now it looks like Shedeur Sanders is the top of that. And we were going to discuss, do you trust, as long as Jimmy's at the helm, do you have any level of trust that they'll get that right? I have 0% trust because the track record is they haven't. But the other part of this is, and I'm hearing a lot of talk about this, should AB be replaced? Should Andrew Berry lose his job as the general manager? And you can start. I know you did some research on his draft class, and I'm interested to hear that. But in your view, does Andrew Berry deserve to be fired?
If he's the one who drove the Deshaun thing, with where this is at now, that's a fireable offense. You don't even have to look at the draft record. I'm serious.
No, you don't. Yeah,
just that.
Do you think he did drive the bus on that? Or do you think he went along with ownership's whim, because he damn sure didn't do that contract without Jimmy's approval.
I don't want to get ahead on this. So everything that's been told to me to this point is AB was in first. He was on board first.
So he went to Jimmy with the idea.
He was first.
Wow.
Now,
yeah, that's fireable then.
Now where it goes from there, there's a lot of layers to that in terms of how far do you want to go when Deshaun told him no, and they kept going. So
did he tell Jimmy we got to give him whatever he wants?
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to get.
We don't know that.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But AB was on board first. Now you can look at the draft record and everything else and make other decisions. But if one of the things that I've been adamant about since we started the show is you have to give guys time to learn from their mistakes. Mm-hmm. This organization has never been very good at giving guys time to learn from their mistakes. That's where I think drafting comes in, where you should be able to refine your process. If you miss on picks in your first draft of going through something and doing something, well, yeah, you've never done it before. So it makes sense. You might miss on some guys. So what do you learn from that? How do you refine your process? And then what do you do the second time?
Like, do you draft multiple third-round wide receivers that are busts? Or do you just do it once and then you figure it out?
But, you self-evaluate, why did we miss on this guy? What was it about Anthony Schwartz that we missed? What did we get right? What did we get wrong?
Right.
What did we get right about Tommy Togiai? What did we get wrong? Zach Zinter, guys, is not trending in the right direction.
Not yet. No, he's not.
It's not looking good. That could be another top 100 bust.
I like Zach.
So now he's had quite a few years now. This isn't 2 years and out. So if you really believe in guys, then you don't listen to the public nonsense, the public discourse. You don't listen to you and I, and you hold firm to your guys. But if you never wanted Deshaun, or you had to be talked into Deshaun, that alone, if you wanted to make the case, to me, that is a fireable offense.
I think that he should be given the opportunity to retool, but I think that he needs to kind of look at his overall approach to a lot of things, and it's definitely time to refine. To your point, if he was the head of the Deshaun Watson thing, your opinion is he should be fired. I'm going to disagree.
I think it's a fireable.
It's a fireable offense. That's what you said.
Yes.
The reason why I'm going to push back on that, and I'm going to use John Lynch as an example here. See, John Lynch traded 3 first-round picks, and then I think he traded the second-round pick to move up in the draft to take a guy that was unproven, unlike Deshaun, who had a track record with Trey Lance, right? The only difference between the two situations with that swing and miss is that he actually hit on his draft picks. And the free agents that he actually brought in to help the 49ers, they were impact free agents. See, you can swing and miss, but you just can't be swinging and missing across the board.
Not only that, let's call the Trey Lance his first at-bat. Bases loaded, down 1,
right.
2 outs in the ninth.
Right.
He swung. He didn't swing and miss. He got in the batter's box for strike 1, and then he turned around and walked back to the dugout. It was the biggest fail. It was awful. I love John Lynch.
I think
However,
he threw the bat in the stands.
Yes.
Hit a kid in the head.
Punched the umpire, spit in the catcher's face, and then went to the dugout. It wasn't just an L. It was like as big an L as you can find.
You can take.
However, he came up the very next day in the very next situation and hit the ball into San Francisco Bay because he took a guy with Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. He juxtaposed, he said, here's my Trey Lance. And then he was able to say, oh, and by the way, I'm going to hit on a guy who's the last pick in the draft and solve all our problems at quarterback.
There's a little bit of luck involved in that.
Yeah.
They got lucky.
There's a lot of luck in it.
Yeah.
Anybody that tells you drafting quarterbacks is a science doesn't know what they're talking about.
When you draft the last pick in the draft and hit a home run like that, there's scouting involved. There's skill involved.
It is a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot.
There's luck involved.
But you know what? Just like the Patriots and Bill Belichick lived on for 15 years, they found TB at 199.
Yeah.
When you get one of those right, which, by the way, we haven't. No. I mean, JOK might be our biggest draft success story.
We're going to go through it.
But he doesn't have enough positive equity to erase the Deshaun Watson thing. He would have to basically do here what they've done in San Francisco. Because you don't have, you've got no first-round draft pick on your team under 25 years old.
That's why, to Jason's point, I don't like calling for people's job anyway. One thing
I don't either.
wish,
I don't love
like
that.
Unemployment, death, jail. Those
Yeah,
are things that
I
you won't
agree
see me
with that.
calling for. And so, in the sake of giving him an opportunity to correct his wrongs, right? There are many facets of being a general manager. I think he's great with the cap. I think we all can agree he's pretty good with the cap management. When you look at player acquisition, his prize free agent is over his tenure. The one free agent he signed that's been really good is okay, fair. If you look at his trades, all the trades that he's made, Amari Cooper was his best trade.
Yes.
Jock is arguably his best draft pick. He's made 31 draft picks to date. I'm not going to talk about the ones from this year, but just go back to 2020. Wheels, Delpit, Elliott, Jacob Phillips, Harrison Bryant, Nick Harris, DPJ. We've had enough time to assess that draft. We will probably grade that.
A lot of those guys are gone.
There you go.
DPJ's gone.
21, Newsome, Jock, Schwartz, Hudson, Togiai, Tony Fields, Richard LeCount, and Demetric Felton. 22, MJ Emerson, Alex Wright, David Bell, Perrion Winfrey, Kay York, Jerome Ford, Mike Woods, Isaiah Thomas, Dawson Deaton. 23.
A lot of those were disasters.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman, Siaka Ika, who's no longer on the team, DeJuan Jones, Isaiah McGuire, DTR, Cam Mitchell, Luke Whippler. When you just look at everything
That's
that
a
he's
bad
done,
representation.
like it's a bad presentation overall. It is. And then with Deshaun Watson, not really turning out to be anything, it makes you look bad. Like, I really want to sit up here and say that the Browns should move on. But if Jason wouldn't have said that, I probably would have said, yeah, the Browns should move on. Because I'm going to keep it real with you. There's another side of this to me. Let's spin it this way. If Jimmy was smart, he would go find John Dorsey. He would have a conversation with John Dorsey, and he would pay John Dorsey whatever the hell he wants to come back and be the Browns general manager.
I don't see him ever doing that.
If you look at his track record, John Dorsey's, when he was in Kansas City, he's responsible for Pat Mahomes. He was responsible for Chris Jones. We know the notable draft picks here. It was Baker, it was Denzel, it was Nick Chubb. You can even look at Austin Corbett. Didn't succeed here, went to L.A., won a Super Bowl with the Rams.
When got Wyatt Teller after.
When it got Wyatt Teller, how he was
Wyatt
crapped
Teller.
in Buffalo. Look at what he's done in Detroit in the 3 years he's been in Detroit.
Well, look where Detroit is.
Look at the players they drafted. Look at where this franchise is now. To me, we are still living off a John Dorsey-built team that Andrew Berry inherited, and he ain't really did much with it. I just want to give a man a benefit of the doubt and give him an opportunity to correct his wrong.
I have a question for you, Jay. I heard that there was a rift between Paul DePodesta and John Dorsey.
I heard the same thing.
Had you ever encountered that?
John was throwing people out of the room.
Among them, Paul DePodesta.
Paul's people. I don't know if Paul got taught. I think Paul, but there were people that John was kicking out of meetings.
It was my understanding that whatever power struggle was going on was clearly won by Depot, and
I think Freddie was Dorsey's downfall.
I think so too, but I'm not convinced that Jimmy wasn't involved in that decision.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
For as well as he drafted, why wasn't he given the opportunity to kind of correct that wrong? Because I agree with you. That was a bad move hiring Freddie Kitchens. But if you would have looked at his track record here, it would have been like, okay, well, damn, the dude has done enough to at least be able to correct his wrong and at least hire another competent head coach.
The one thing that the Haslam's have always struggled with, that I think they have right now, they've got this part corrected, is getting everyone to see it the same way. We've talked about that before in the show. When you have an old school scout like Dorsey and a new school analytics like Paul DePodesta, you're not pulling the rope at the same time. You're not pulling in the same direction. Right now, with Paul, with Andrew, with Kevin, they all see it the same way. They all speak the same language, and
it's not working.
Well, the problem, the misalignment in this one, was the quarterback. And I don't know. I will take accountability, not that I have anything to do with the decision making, but I didn't think it would be as much of a mismatch as it has turned out to be. I didn't think so at the time. I talked to people at the time who didn't think it would be, but it has been. It has been a misalignment of a quarterback who's trying to do things one way and a coaching staff who's trying to do it another. And that's why, but the alignment piece of this, they've struggled to always get right.
I can't give bonus points or credit for something that ultimately doesn't lead you to where the organization has to go. I'd rather have dysfunction in winning. I'd rather
they've had dysfunction in losing.
Right. Well, right now, who cares if we're kumbaya singing from the same song sheet? The singing sucks.
It doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything. Because, you can go back to the Guardians. Like, Tito and Antonetti and Chernoff used to argue all the time. They used to get in arguments all the time. But ultimately, it wasn't a power struggle. It was a coming together of the minds, and I think this, and I think this. Well, let's sit down and come to a decision. What the Browns had was north and south. Like, it was philosophical differences and how you roster build and how you team build, and there was no way to meet in the middle.
And it's funny because that's what our production crew is every day. It's a meeting of the minds, right? We all come together, me and Mike, we got different ideas.
Any collaboration is.
Right? All of us down here. We do this via text all the time.
Yep.
You know, we don't always agree, but we come to, okay, how can we best structure this show to give our fans the product that they deserve?
Because you're all speaking English. If you're speaking Spanish and he's speaking, I'm serious,
No,
and he's
seriously.
speaking English, how are you ever going to meet? And I think that's in the past, the Browns have had Dorsey speaking French, Paul speaking Spanish, and there's
Would you take Dorsey back right now if you could?
For sure.
I would in
to
a
wrap
heartbeat.
this before
For
we
sure.
bring
In
Porter,
a heartbeat.
Yeah, to wrap this before we bring him in, I guess if I was to retain Andrew Berry, I would probably make him look at his scouts, probably get some different scouts in here. Because you lean on the information of your scouts.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So-
And we'll never know because they're not transparent.
Yeah.
I just want to know one thing. Who was writing down the name on the draft card? Was it Paul DePodesta telling Andrew Berry this is absolutely the way the organization, because he's this chief strategy officer. To me, here's what that says. He's the navigator. He's like, this is where we're going. We're going here.
Yeah. He's
now,
serious.
if you want to take this road or you want to take that road, but he's Siri.
He's serious.
He's the guy. And I want to know who broke ties. How many times was Andrew Berry talked into taking somebody that he didn't want to take, but the chief strategy officer who lives in San Diego told him that you've got to do this? And Jimmy knows that, so Jimmy has to make a decision.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for all of these screw-ups and get them out of the building as fast as you can?
Joe Banner 2.0, that's who he is.
All right, guys, let's bring in our guest here to keep talking Browns. But before we do, our guest today is brought to you by Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking, and here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough day the next day. Pre-alcohol reduces an enzyme to break down that byproduct. Just remember to take it before you take the first drink of the night. Just drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. All you got to do is drink it before you drink your alcohol, drink responsibly, wake up tomorrow feeling great. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LockedOnNFL at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off.
I'm going to start taking one of those before every Browns game.
Facts.
It might keep me from getting sick. I'm not exaggerating, Sean Porter. The champ is here. The champ is here. What's up,
Sean?
brother?
Happy to be with you guys. How you guys doing?
Well, we're miserable. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
From a sports standpoint, our Guardians got dinked. The Cavs did look good on season opener, but we're Brownsing again here, Sean. We're Brownsing again after a period where we thought we had gotten away from that. I know you're a huge fan. I know you want to vent, and I want to hear your vent. I want to hear your thoughts, your take on why we find ourselves once again in the conversation for the top pick in the NFL draft.
I'll start with the Raiders game. I live out here in Las Vegas. I've been dying to see the Browns play here in Las Vegas. And my thought process was whenever they come, I'm going to be front row because they are going to tear it up. And they did the complete opposite. I think it's no secret why we performed as bad as we performed. I think that when it's not Stefanski, it's Watson. When it's not Watson, it's Stefanski. I think that we just have not been able to really pull it all together. To your point of we're Browns in here, when I sat there at that Raiders game, I really felt like, dang, like this feels like 2003. This feels like 2004. This sucks,
Yep.
Fast forward, I was looking forward to going to the Philadelphia game. My bucket list is to go to every single NFL stadium. At some point, I got to get over to England and get over to the stadium that I know that they're building over there. And in my mind, I drew up the game plan. And this sounds bad. But in my mind, Watson goes down in the first series, and I hate to say that. And I'll go back to what I said to you guys before about Watson not being able to get it together. I knew that we would end up here with Watson because I knew that Watson was a rhythm player. Rhythm athletes, if you have not used your rhythm on game night, it just won't be there for you. And we've gone now 3 seasons with Watson struggling simply because he's a rhythm player that has not been able to get on the dance floor and use his rhythm.
Wow.
And so it's gone. It's not coming back. But I told you guys that
You did.
2 years ago now, I think it was. Yeah.
You did.
I know sports, you know what I mean? And so in my mind, I drew this up, and not to pour blood on Watson, but the best way that I could enjoy this game was if Watson went down and Jameis comes in and he lights it up, and we haven't been able to see that yet. I know that Jameis came in last week because of the injuries, which was, I was a week behind on that, or a week premature on that. But I feel like Jameis Winston is the guy that's going to take us to the winning column, and obviously I think we're out of reach of a playoff run this year. But I think Winston's the guy.
First of all, Sean, you've been killing it, man, in your second career. I watch a lot of boxing.
Thank you, man.
I've been catching you on the broadcast, brother. You've been killing it, so shout out to you.
Thank you.
But to the Jameis Winston point, you believe that he can lead us to some wins. Do you think that Jameis Winston can be in the Browns' plans past this season?
There's no telling. I don't know what happened with the quarterback that we had last year. I'm drawing a
Joe
blank
Flacco.
right now, but Flacco, yeah, I'm not sure what happened with that whole deal with Flacco, but it seemed to make sense to bring Flacco back. Here's what I think. I think that they couldn't justify benching Watson, and you can't justify having Flacco on your team doing what he just did the previous season. So I think that they let Joe Flacco go so that they wouldn't have to deal with this $250,000 or $1 million that's on the bench. But that's simply what needs to happen. I think if Jameis goes on to lead us to some wins, a lot like Joe Flacco did last year, I think this year, the next season, it make more sense to keep Jameis Winston with the organization, because we've seen now, it's been proven top to bottom that Watson just isn't the guy. And I'm also, of course, hearing the rumors of us getting maybe a Shador coming over to the Browns organization as well, which I think would be pretty cool.
It'd be interesting for sure if the Browns are in the one slot, and if there isn't something said before the draft from his dad Dion or from Shador that he just doesn't want to play here. I know that they're probably going to try to orchestrate where they land. Sean, you're right. You've been very consistent. In fact, from the time we had you on the first time, I thought, man, this dude's like my sports twin. We were aligned on a lot of this stuff. And I remember you saying early on, before we had much of a body of work from Deshaun Watson, not going to do it. He's not the guy. I'm telling you guys are waiting on something that's not going to show up. One thing that Sean King, the former Bucs quarterback, and actually was on the Super Bowl roster when the Colts won the Super Bowl, he joins us every week. And he said this week, to the question that you were just asked about Jameis Winston, is that we shouldn't be quick to put a ceiling on this guy because he's only 30. So he's 10 years younger than Flacco. I happen to think that I hope they're open-minded. If he comes in and does what Flacco did last year, and I'm not saying lead them to the playoffs because I think that ship has sailed, but if he looks good and plays 10 games and they go 7-3, hell, even 6-4, but he puts up good numbers, once upon a time this guy was throwing the ball all over the place. I would be disappointed if they didn't bring him back if he plays well.
Yeah. See, the difference with Jameis Winston, because I know there's people like, well, Jameis hasn't had any game time at all, so how do you justify bringing in Jameis Winston, and thinking that he's going to do as well as I feel he's going to do? He's what I call a natural gunner. He's a natural passer that has the ability to drop back, read the defense before he even drops back, and he knows what to do. Beyond that, he knows what to do if, as he drops back, he's not seeing the defense move the way he needs it to move. He's a natural gunning quarterback that can feel the game. The difference with him and Watson is Watson plays off of off of instinct. He plays so much off of instinct and natural raw talent that he's never had to develop that game with having the eyes and the intellect to be able to see beyond what his instinct sees.
Wow.
And that's the difference between those two guys. I'm telling you guys, I know sports. I know athletes. We will get a Jameis Winston. Not only beyond that, Winston, as we all know, has the energy to lead any team.
Yeah.
And that's what our team needs right now. I think if Winston had come in, we would have never lost Cooper, because I think that Cooper just needed someone with the leading intentional energy to bring him up and keep him involved and keep him tuned into the game. This is what I know. First drive doesn't go your way. Second drive doesn't go the way. If that third drive doesn't go your way, everybody starts to tune out, starts to lean back on who they are, and it becomes an individual game. Where football is a team sport, as we all know, Winston is the guy to lead the team.
Wow.
Deshaun Watson was never that guy. I'm sorry. He just was never that guy.
You have any predictions? How do you think? The one thing that has hurt him in his career is interceptions.
I'll tell you guys why I came on here today. Listen, I've used Twitter to meet so many athletes, to meet so many comedians, people that I've looked up to, and I started to tweet Jameis, like, personally, and I was like, tweeting him personally is not going to get it done. So I'm hoping that something I say on here reaches the organization.
That's awesome.
So he wasn't hitting you back on the DM.
Yeah. So I know I would have got the DM, but that's not good enough. This has to hit the airwaves of Cleveland personally, so they do the right thing. He comes in, we go 6-4 with him. We might go 7-3 with him.
Wow. Man, I hope you're right.
Sean, I'm wondering, as a high precision athlete like yourself, who's also a rabid Browns fan, obviously there's been a lot of talk this week about just the reaction to when Deshaun went down and the fans who cheered or booed or however you want to phrase it. And a lot of players spoke out against it, spoke out very strongly, saying you've lost the players now in the locker room, Cleveland fans, and Miles saying that he's a model citizen. What do you make of everything that transpired on the field Sunday and everything the players had to say afterwards?
You know, the word that I was hearing right before you guys brought me on was transparency. And that's literally been my key to success. As you can see, the Cleveland, and even people outside of Cleveland, because I travel a lot, and every time I travel with Cleveland gear on, and I get people that are Cleveland fans, Browns fans specifically, and everybody's let down. The best thing you could do is be transparent and say, this is the move we're going to make. This is the reason why we're going to make the move. And we're going to give you fans what you need as we end this season. That's the best thing that you could do, because at the end of the day, the team, the organization is only here because Cleveland wants them here. No NFL team is going to reside in a city that people don't want them in. So while you're here for us, at some point you gotta have to appease us. You have to do what we expect you to do. When Deshaun goes down, I'm sorry, but we all knew that was the only way. He was not going to be on the field. It is what it is. So when he goes down, everybody cheers about it, because now we're getting what we want. And you got to give us more of what we want.
Hey, Sean, I got to switch things up on you a little bit, man. So, you a champ. You from the land. There's a young man that's an up-and-coming boxer from the land. I think you know who I'm about to mention, man.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on on Abdullah Mason?
Abdullah Mason, I think, is one of the best athletes in boxing right now. He's young. He's not even 20 years old yet. And I'm talking about he's better than everybody that you see in boxing from a standpoint of having the raw talent and ability to do what he does. He has a nature to fight. Comes from Cleveland. That's where that comes from.
Facts.
And he's been, everything that he has been cultivated by the history of boxing. Guess what? His first coach was the same coach that my dad had. My dad trained me based off the things that his coach trained him to do. So Abdullah and the whole clan, because it's like 6 or 7 of them, they've all come under the tutelage of one of the godfathers of boxing, Clint Martin. So shout out to Clint Martin. Clint Martin has passed on, but everything that he's taught has certainly not passed on. It's all been given to Abdullah Mason. I expect Abdullah to do twice as much as I've done as a professional boxer, if not more than that. Wow. And I was able to win two world championships as a professional fighter. So also shout out to Charles Conwell. Charles was on the 2016 Olympic team, so he's supposed to be there now as a world champion. And so expect him to reach a world championship next year. I'm going to start helping Charles get there. Charles is supposed to have been there by now. And Abdullah's going to take his time. He's only 19. He's going to take his time, but he's going to be there for a long time.
I love it. And I love your insight, and it's always great having you on and catching up. Great to see you, Sean. Well, hopefully we're going to put this Browns thing behind us. Let's go 7-3, 6-4. Get this thing figured out, and we'll have you on next year to talk about how they've turned the ship around.
Yes.
Thanks, brother. Always good to see you.
Yo, Ant, I got to hit on something Sean said before we move on, because he actually took it right out of my mouth, and I told Ant and Mike this upstairs.
Yeah.
2 years ago when he came on this show, and when he said what he said about Deshaun Watson, I remember a lot of our fan base, we automatically dismissed it, not even giving him the grace of being a former athlete that was a champion. And when you take 2 years off like that, I think we all underestimated the magnitude of that.
That was what the basis of his opinion was. You can't sit on the sidelines at the toughest job in the world for 2 years and then come back and be like, I'm back, here I am. And be dominant. He knew it. He felt it. Sometimes I think we have a tendency to do that with professional athletes. Well, especially when they're talking about something that wasn't their sport. Mm-hmm. Athletes are athletes. And to understand the mindset of an athlete, you have had to been one. And we can't bring that perspective. But a guy like Sean can. And I love what he said about the rhythm. He's been a rhythm player who's, got a plugged fuel line, and he's like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. He never got into that rhythm again, and I don't know that he'll ever get the chance to do it again. But I like Sean a lot. Not professionally, he was incredible, but he's got a lot of interesting things to say, and I was a little surprised how strong he was about the injury.
Yeah.
I think I'll try to clear up what he said. I don't think for a second, and I hate to speak for the man, but I don't think he was rooting for him to be injured.
No.
But I do think that he had come to a brick wall where he had realized, well, it's clear. They're not taking him out no matter how badly he plays. There's only one way out of this, and that's if he gets hurt.
Man, I'll say this because I know the fans are tired of talking about it, but I ain't been out here. I had a very strong initial reaction to the fans' reaction.
Right.
And when you're asked to respond to something, what's your initial response, right?
Yeah.
You give what you initially feel in the moment. And I owe some of y'all an apology because, one, after I heard Myles Garrett speak, I did lump everybody in. But not only that, I have a tendency to assume that people are going to operate like I operate.
Sure.
I was raised on them old, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, you show people empathy, you show people grace. Just because I do that doesn't mean everybody else have to.
Sure.
And I am nobody. I'm above no man or woman to tell them how they should feel emotionally.
Right.
Because when you take away the Deshaun Watson aspect of this entire thing, the Browns have been really, really bad this year. Deshaun was bad, the line been bad, the coaching been bad, the defense has been bad, everything has been bad. And, we automatically assume everything is about Deshaun. Forget Deshaun. He's just another player that's coming and going. We got a pissed off fan base because we keep spending more money every single year on merchandise when it goes up, on tickets when it goes up, on food for tailgating, on parking for tailgating, on every single thing that surrounds Cleveland Browns. And they are frustrated as hell that the product that we are getting is BS, especially when you have to take on certain players on this team that you might not necessarily care for or whatever the case may be. You're not going to agree with everything that they do. And so, I think that, at first it was just okay, man, it's some pretty bad people. But you know what? I was wrong. You don't have to empathize with everybody. That's your choice. When Shelby Harris said what he said yesterday, I was a little irritated because now I feel like you're piling on. And we're way past that point. You could have did all that Sunday.
Yeah, we got to get past it all.
To say that you're like the fans have lost the players, the fans has been here. They're going to be here long after you all are gone. I think y'all need to check y'all performance and understand y'all losing the fans.
And know this, the players have lost the fans.
Yeah. It's a two-way
We're finding it hard to root for anybody because nobody's doing
At this
anything.
point on a Thursday, you was better off not saying nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
Real quick, Jed Wills missed practice again.
Oh boy.
So it looks like
At this point, I don't even know if that's a
I'm
bad
playing
thing.
left tackle Sunday, actually. Surprise everybody.
Yeah.
DeWine will be at left tackle more than likely from the looks
Yeah.
of things.
I don't know who else you're gonna
See
put
how
there.
that goes. And I know we got to get super chats. We're running out of time. Carl Willis ain't leaving.
What?
He ain't leaving. He'll be here.
Whoa. Well, okay. Well, that's all we needed to know about that.
Yeah, he's not.
Can we go to 27?
We can go
For
to
the super
27.
chat.
Let me get
He's
this
got
right
super
in.
chat.
No, I know. That's why I asked
Jason,
that.
you can hit on that.
And,
So,
and by the way, Jason just made my day.
Yeah, he ain't
In my mind, it's a fait accompli. He's out the door.
No.
He is
I
staying
mean,
here.
never say never, but I don't think he's leaving. No.
Wow. Okay.
Carl, don't leave me, Carl.
Carl, we love you, brother.
We love you, Carl.
hey, that's one less tough thing that these toughest fans in the world have to deal with Leaf Filter. And we've been talking a lot about investments. An investment in Leaf Filter and an investment in engineering product to your whole home. It's an investment you got to make, guys. Clogged gutters aren't just a nuisance. They can cause extensive water damage. You got to protect your home from flooding, roof damage, rotting siding, foundation issues, and more. Over 1 million homeowners have trusted Leaf Filter to cover their gutters. All you have to do is schedule your free inspection and get and for a limited time, you get up to 32% off your entire qualified purchase and 2 free Browns jerseys at leaffilter.com/UCSS. That's a free inspection, up to 32% off, and 2 free jerseys with a qualified purchase at leaffilter.com/UCSS. Offers only valid for first come, first served basis while supplies last. Full terms and conditions can be found at leaffilter.com/UCSS. See representatives for warranty details. Guys, I got a couple quick
I have them on
super
my
chats
house,
here.
by the way. They are incredible.
Fantastic.
They are
product.
incredible.
I need him. I desperately need them.
Invest, because as the saying goes, you can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Yeah.
Water's the enemy. It will kill your fascia, your wood.
Yeah.
Do it.
Got 60 seconds here real quick. Christian Ortega, haven't heard from you guys talk about Jameis getting LASIK in 2020 and changing his career. He threw 33 and 30 colorblind.
Wow.
Cats are cool. Although I voted for Jameis, I don't think he can be a long-term QB. I think he can get us through this year and next. I consider long-term to be QB, to be a franchise QB. It is, and then from TBL, the bottom, is it the GM's job to coach the players or draft the players? And then from our guy, Daryl, WKYC, tune in on UCSS. Love you guys. Go Cavs.
Love you, Daryl. All right, we're going to break away. We're going to be back at 12:30, bottom of the hour, WKYC. We'll see you there. Otherwise, enjoy the Browns game this weekend. Go Browns. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.